So, in today's video, we're going to talk about the guy behind 90% of today's biggest songs. I mean, 90% is kind of a bit of a stretch, but it's definitely a lot, and I mean a lot. This guy is a mastermind behind many of today's biggest songs, and a lot of which you wouldn't even expect. Songs such as Justin Bieber Love Yourself, Maroon 5 Move Like Jagger, and Lil Dicky's Freaky Friday, to name a few. And after doing some research, a ton of Ed Sheeran songs, I think it's safe to say that this guy is the top charts in a headlock. This guy, super producer and songwriter, is none other than the American producer Benny. Benny Blanco, or real name Benjamin Joseph Levin, was born in Reston, Virginia, USA. Benny began writing songs way back in 2007, and with him now being 34, this made him 19 years old at the time. At this time, Benny was actually mentored by a guy called Dr. Luke. Dr. Luke is the owner of Cash Money Productions, not to be confused with Cash Money, and is responsible for producing once again many of 2010's biggest artists. Artists such as Flo Rida, Avril Lavigne, and Katy Perry. Despite this, Dr. Luke is probably more well known for the lawsuit with Kesha. To put it short, Kesha claimed that Cash Money Productions was intentionally trying to stunt Kesha's growth, leaving her with no creative control over her music at all, and also claimed some other things, of which I'm not going to get into. The verdict was that the judge didn't actually believe Kesha and said that Kesha was making false allegations against Cash Money. This resulted in her having to pay out a hefty $300K pre-judgment interest. So this is who Benny was mentored by. Despite all the controversy around the record label now, this time 7 with Dr. Luke did wonders for Benny. This had Benny in many rooms with artists that he wouldn't have otherwise, but more importantly, allowed him to figure out the secret formula to chart-topping songs. From here, he would then go on to produce and co-write many of the biggest songs back then. These songs was Katy Perry Teenage Dreams, ironically Kesha's TikTok, and Taio Cruz's Dynamite. If you're not a 14-year-old watching this, you remember how much of a massive smash Dynamite was, and it still kind of is, to be honest. He then went on to co-write Britney Spears' Circus in 2008, once again with Dr. Luke. And then finally in 2011, Blanco wrote and produced his first song without the help of Dr. Luke, which ended up being the huge Moves Like Jagger. Imagine the first song you producing by yourself being something like this. This song was on every radio, blasting out of every mum's Nokia phone back then, and proved that Blanco was very much in the business and here to stay. To this day, Blanco's entered into the Songwriting Hall of Fame and collected a staggering 29 #1 singles. Which, by the way, if you think how almost impossible it is to even get one #1, this guy's done it 29 times. Benny's come up wasn't exactly easy. Despite having a mentor like Dr. Luke, before him, he didn't really have much. Benny was said to have the door shut in his face countless times by record labels and just people who didn't want to give him a chance. This didn't discourage Benny though. He came up with a plan. His plan was to call and message anyone on MySpace at the time. Yes, MySpace. So he'd literally try and get in contact with anyone even remotely in the music industry. Essentially cold calling anyone that would listen. Benny had many doors shut in his face, but eventually this cold calling paid off. Eventually he got a response off record producer Disco D. Disco D became a mentor for Benny, once again giving him some more major time with some of the world's biggest artists. If you haven't noticed by now, Benny is amazing at getting himself in rooms with the right people, which goes back to the old saying, your network is your net worth, and this story really proves it. Benny would continue on, and still today he's getting himself in the room with many of the biggest artists in the world, Juice WRLD's, Justin Bieber's, BTS's, but now he's doing it by himself. Today, Benny is still producing songs exactly the same way. In fact, this is where he produced all the records for the past 5 years. In recent time, he stopped being so much behind the camera and has actually jumped in front of it. Today, he's sitting with 4.6 million followers on TikTok, where he uploads stuff such as this.
How do I still have a unibrow?
And he seems to mess with Charlie Puth a lot.
Those notes are...
Benny is a super unique character and is actually super charismatic as well. And he also dresses a little strange, so no doubt he has a lot of followers. Benny is one of the most prized producers out there, and I'm sure he will still be in the charts in the next 10 years, or 20 years, or 80 years. He's pretty much like Kanye West if Kanye West didn't look like Kanye West at all. Just before we wrap this up, let's just go to his Spotify. I mean, these are just some songs he's produced. Like, look at these streams. Like, wow. Yeah, it's quite a lot. So he's currently sitting with 22 million monthly listeners, which makes him the 145th most streamed artists in the world. And like, just look at some of these. We've got BTS, Snoop Dogg, Halsey, Juice WRLD, Brendan Urie, Marshmello. So I think it's safe to say Benny Blanco's pretty much secretly running the music industry. That's been the video. Thanks for watching.